इंपीरियलिज्म एंड colonialism, साम्राज्यवाद एवं उपनिवेशवाद, इनके बीच सिमिलरिटीज क्या है और क्या है जो इसे एक दूसरे से डिस्टिंक्ट करते हैं। जनरली historians use imperialism and colonialism as each other's synonym. Imperialism and colonialism convey one state's dominance or hegemony over others. Economic, strategic, demographic interest or ambitions, and psychological instinct to internationalism or nation's glory fueled, catalyzed imperialism and colonialism. Imperialism and colonialism is basically economic relationship, but in-depth analysis establishes its parasitic, predatory in nature. Why? Facts that substantiate about described claim. Example: John Sullivan, President, Board of Revenue, Madras, described the exploitative, oppressive character of British colonial regime in colony India as our system acts much like a sponge, drawing up all the good things from the banks of Ganges and squeezing them down on the banks of the Thames. Another, Salisbury, Secretary of State for India, 1874-78, also exposed the parasitic nature of imperial regime. As India must be bled, the bleeding should be done judiciously. In colonialism, the tendency to grab political authority prevails. Under it, metropolitan state, that is, colonial regime or colonizer, takes governance of colony directly in their hands. Whereas in imperialism, the extent of political dominance is considered enough that is essential or inevitable for safeguarding imperial interest or ambitions or privilege. Under colonialism, metropolitan states' socio-cultural impacts are much more intense and immense on colony. The natural curiosity arises why? To impose political dominance or forcefully establish hegemony and sustain its stability. Destruction or even annihilation of glory or sense of glory for indigenous cultural heritage, civilizational ethos, even in consciousness is inevitable. Whereas in imperialism, the role of above described imperial socio-cultural impact is limited, as imperial presence is limited only to grab economic concessions or extraterritorial privilege. Due to this, imperial forces do not prioritize the imposition or forceful imposition of religious, academic, and administrative ideas and institutions in their sphere of influence. For this, the appropriate example is China. Colonialism exploited India in each and every dimension, with each and every possible way, extent, with unprecedented intensity and immensity. For example, economic exploitation. In this sphere, we can acquire in-depth understanding from the writings of from grand old men of India, Dadabhai Noroji, who laid out the framework or in-depth understanding of oppressive, exploitative Character of colonialism. Noroji's The Evil of All Evils, Drain of Wealth Theory, to Bipin Chandra's The Rise and Growth of Economic Nationalism in India and Nationalism and Colonialism in Modern India. If you talk about political exploitation, political participation had been privileged for few, as before 1935 only 3%. In other words, 97%. And after 1935, more than 85% were deprived from electoral participation. Separate electorate was extension of colonial divide and rule conspiracy. Communalism or colonial facilitated sponsored communalism divide partitioned India. According to a British economist, Angus Madison, India's share in world income declined from 27% in 1700 AD to 3% in 1950. This fact is significant as in 1700 AD the entire Europe's contribution in world's income is less than India's 27%. It was actually 23%. In a sphere of socio-cultural exploitation, we can understand it with in-depth understanding with Edward Said's Culture and Imperialism. Abdul Razak Gurnah the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2021 for his uncompromising and compassionate penetration of the effects of colonialism and the fate of the refugee in the gulf between cultures and continent. Under oppressive colonial regime, even ecology and environment destroyed. Amitabh Ghosh, the Nutmeg's Curse, Parables for a Planet in Crisis, described it in detail. Psychological exploitation. A book titled The Rest of the Earth, author Franz Fanon provides a psychoanalysis of the dehumanizing effects of colonialism upon the individuals and the nation. China's century of humiliation began with opium war, drug trafficking, and culminated with creation of sphere of influences with extra territorial privileges for imperial forces. Due to presence of rival imperial forces, China was escaped or shielded from direct political control of imperial regimes like India. Settler colonialism, distinct type of colonialism, it functions through the replacement of indigenous or native population with an invasive settler society. For example, Canada, United States of America, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand represents settler colonial states. In the second half of the 19th century, in the United States of America, in the name of manifest destiny, natives or entire population of natives virtually wiped out. In India, settler colonialism could not succeed due to resistance with indomitable spirit, exemplary courage, extraordinary and unprecedented sacrifices, with in-depth understanding about the real colonial character from its imposition. For an example, from Sannyasi rebellion to naval mutiny, Indian national movements, national integration efforts, India's thousands year ancient but continuous civilizational ethos, incredible cultural heritage, also protect India or data settle colonialism or climate also data settle colonialism in somehow above all humanistic value of Indian national movement inspired rebels against the Raj even from their own land. Now the evolution. Commercial and industrial revolution catalyzed, fueled imperial and colonial ambitions in accelerated way. In Asia, Portuguese advanced imperial colonial initiatives in this direction. The Netherlands and England directed their efforts after Portuguese initiation. Post 1870, three imperial states emerged in Asia. For example, in retaliation against boastful British claim the sun never set on British Empire, Germany declared, "We also want a land under the sun." For an example, after the unification of after the unification of Germany, German nationalism also tried to establish or enhance their influence in the China and initiated a railway project from Berlin to Baghdad that reveal their instinct or intention behind these initiatives. In the last year of 19th century, United States of America opened their venture in this direction. The triangle of United States of America's imperial ambitions forcefully imposed their influence on Philippines, defeating Spain to compel rival imperial forces to accept or adopt open door policy in the context of China, to accelerate their efforts to enhance their influence between the Pacific and Indian Ocean region. Now, this region called Indo-Pacific. In this sequence, emerging Asian power, industrial revolution led economic power and military power, Japan. Japan also want to influence their influence in this area. Japanese surprise assault in Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, and in retaliation, the most devastating event of humankind, atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, was part of this rival imperial conflict. Post 1945, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका की इंपीरियल एम्बिशंस इस क्षेत्र में कोल्ड वॉर का एक पार्ट बनकर उभरती है। इसके एग्जाम्पल हैं डेडिकेटेड एंड डिटरमाइंड एफर्ट्स इन सपोर्ट ऑफ कैपिटलिस्टिक गवर्नमेंट of South Korea. In China, capitalistic government under the Kuomintang party, कुओमिंतांग के अस्तित्व की रक्षा हेतु यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका की ओर से इकोनॉमिक एड, वियतनाम का डिवीजन और सदर्न वियतनाम पर अपने प्रभुत्व को, अपनी हेजेमनी को इम्पोज करने का पुरजोर प्रयास, जापान का रिकंस्ट्रक्शन, उसकी डिफेंस की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी अपने हाथों में ले लेना, स्ट्रेटेजिक इंपॉर्टेंस के कारण अफगानिस्तान, इस्लामिक रिपब्लिक ऑफ पाकिस्तान, यूएन, इन नेशंस में यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका के प्रति डेडिकेटेड गवर्नमेंट्स को बनाने का प्रयास। When USSR invaded Afghanistan, the graveyard of empires, उस सिचुएशन में सोवियत संघ के रिटेलिएशन और कोल्ड वॉर में उसे डिफीट करने के पर्पज से रेडिकलाइजेशन और वेपनाइज्ड करके तालिबान को क्रिएट करने में यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका की डिविसिव भूमिका, वहाँ भी सलाफी विचारों के भयावह था, अत्याधुनिक अमेरिकी हथियारों एवं पाकिस्तान समर्थित आतंकी प्रशिक्षण से अधिक बढ़ी। जियोपॉलिटिक्स की दृष्टि से इम्पोर्टेंट, या यूं कहेंगे जियोपॉलिटिक्स की दृष्टि से मिडिल ईस्ट और जियोग्राफिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से वेस्टर्न एशिया में अपने डोमिनेंस को इम्पोज करने, उसे इन्हांस करने के पर्पज से सेंटो बगदाद पैक्ट, एक मिलिट्री ब्लॉक की स्थापना। इस क्रम में इराक, ईरान, कुवैत एंड अदर अरेबिक और गल्फ कंट्रीज पर इनडायरेक्टली अपने इन्फ्लुएंस को इंक्रीज करने, इन्हांस करने का प्रयास। इजराइल पैलेस्टाइन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट अमेरिका की एनर्जी रिसोर्सेस, स्पेसिफिकली ऑयल और उसकी स्ट्रेटेजिक एम्बिशन से काफ़ी हद तक इम्पेक्टेड है। इन फैक्ट्स के बेस पर ये कहा जा सकता है कि पोस्ट 1945 यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका ने नियो इंपीरियलिज्म एम्बिशंस के तहत अपने प्रभुत्व के प्रसार का प्रयत्न किया। इसके तहत प्रत्यक्ष रूप से राजनीतिक सत्ता पर तो किसी प्रकार का कोई कंट्रोल एस्टेब्लिश नहीं हो, लेकिन अमेरिका ने संबंधित नेशंस को विभिन्न स्तरों पर एड इंश्योर कर अपने विशेष एम्बिशंस और इंटरेस्ट के अनुरूप उनको बिहेव करने के लिए कंपेल किया गया। फॉर एन एग्जाम्पल, इकोनॉमिक एड, मॉडर्न वेपन्स, टेक्नोलॉजी एंड डिप्लोमेटिक पेट्रोनेज एट द इंटरनेशनल लेवल, ये इंश्योर कर अपनी इंडस्ट्रियल नीड्स के लिए रिसोर्सेस पर डोमिनेंस, स्पेसिफिकली एनर्जी रिसोर्सेस, अपने मैन्युफैक्चर्ड प्रोड्यूस्ड प्रोडक्ट्स की खपत के लिए मार्केट, वैश्विक शासन में या यूं के ग्लोबल गवर्नेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस में डिसाइसिव रोल निभाने वाले यूएन और यूएनएससी, यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल में अपने पक्ष में ओपिनियन को इंश्योर करना।